preach, and this is another thing that's very important. I also think as a man, because life as a man is pain and suffering, and when I say that, because you're never going to be a good man or good at being a man without pain and suffering. You're going to have to go through a bunch of shit and have a terrible life to become a good man.
There is a crisis of values in the West that I believe we need a fundamentally conservative solution for. And this crisis of values manifests in so many different ways. Right now in Western society, for example, there is a debate over what a woman is. Right now in Western society, in France particularly, there is this tension between nation and national identity and the ever so growing demands of multiculturalism, which have been shown to tear apart the core of what a nation is in the name of propping up those who are supposedly oppressed by their condition, this sort of view of man that is not true. There's a debate right now over how women should act. Should they be tradwives? Should they be feminists who reject all traditional norms as oppressive and don't pay any heed or deference to the past or the wisdom of past generations? Should men be aggressive and masculine, or should they be soft and caring? Should we be down for social justice, or should we be embracing conservatism? There is just so much contention, so many fights happening right now in our current political discourse. And I think that this crisis of values has brought rise to the Manosphere and also people like Andrew Tate. Now, Andrew Tate is a very controversial figure. I've covered him here on the channel once before, and I've talked a lot about his philosophy, his beliefs, his worldview, and why I personally do not think that Andrew Tate is someone that young men should emulate. But I also understand why Andrew Tate has caught fire the way he has, and why his audience of predominantly young men have also embraced him in a way that is not really typical for any modern influencer to be embraced. And Andrew Tate recently got back in the cultural conversation due to his recent interview with Tucker Carlson, which spanned almost 2 hours, actually over 2 hours actually. I have not watched the entire thing. I have watched a lot of it. I have watched bits and pieces as well. I have identified some interesting parts of the interview, but this video is not really about the interview. This video is about the attempt to cast Andrew Tate as a conservative figure, which then also, in the backdrop of the Manosphere, tries to cast that entire movement of male influencers trying to push the discourse about women and dating in a particular direction, also casts them as conservative as well. And I think this is fundamentally a mistake. And there are some reasons I think this is fundamentally a mistake. But we have to understand, why does Andrew Tate have this appeal that would get Tucker Carlson to interview him? Very simply, Andrew Tate was attacked by the establishment of his own country. And anyone who is attacked by the establishment generally becomes a hero in the eyes of conservatives or people on the right in the West. Piers Morgan, for example, who is an avowed centralized government fan, who has argued numerous times for the confiscation of weapons, the primary and best means to defend yourself if you are in any modern civilization. He has argued for the confiscation of them in America. He came over to America to argue for that. He is now being praised as a hero for simply being anti-woke. Andrew Tate, having been attacked by the sort of feminist establishment, which is also pushing the culture in a very destructive pathway with many other ideas, have attacked him for being misogynist or whatever. And so the impulse is for a figure besieged by the established order to be seen as benevolent, because that grants them a mark of authenticity. That grants them what is called street cred. And of course, I'm being charitable here. Tate is right about some things. Tate is correct that feminism has been a destructive force in Western civilization. Tate is correct that women, particularly in dating, have very vain, status-driven preferences, generally, not all women, but generally, about who they want their partner to be. And in this modern dating environment, men are pressured to conform to the expectations. Tate is correct about those things and much more. Tate is correct about the emphasis on working hard and building yourself up, becoming a better version of yourself. But the problem is this. Just because someone is correct on a few general principles that anyone could have said does not mean that their worldview is something that we should embrace. It does not mean their worldview is commendable, because Tate's worldview is not commendable. Tate's worldview is one based on materialism. Tate's worldview is one based on the status of a man not being a product of his individual spiritual value as a human being, which we all possess within our souls. No, it is based on his market value as a competitor against other men. Man is his own standard of value. Friends, you are not the sum of a competitive game that happens in some marketplace outside of yourself. You are the sum of your own behaviors and the beliefs that drive and inspire your behavior. Tate's worldview is based on the accumulation of wealth as a social means of gaining capital. But wealth comes in many forms. Obviously, physical money is important. We have to pay bills. We have to do a lot of things. This is my job. This is what I do. So I understand that. But material wealth is not the only form of wealth. Wealth of the mind, intellectual wealth, all that stuff is also important as well. Tate's worldview is fundamentally based on a power exchange, a sort of domination of people in a relationship, subordination of them to the man, which again poses problems. Now, many of you may think I'm just throwing stones because I'm a hater. Let me show you some evidence of what I'm trying to say here. Because again, I'm trying to be charitable. As Herbert Spencer, the philosopher, said, there is an iota of good in all things evil, and an iota of evil in all things good. And the great man, the great mind will be he who identifies those things, takes out the good and the evil, takes out the evil and the good, and evaluates them for what they are. Tate once said that if a girlfriend of his wanted to do OnlyFans, he would have no objection so long as he got to keep the proceeds. Watch.
What would you do if I wanted to start an OnlyFans?
I don't think there's anything intrinsically wrong with women doing OnlyFans, as long as I had influence and control over it.
What do you mean? Doing a video photographer and get the angles, yeah?
No. I'm not doing any real work, but just like taking all the money. If my chick said, I want to do OnlyFans, I'm like, all right, then cool, go do it. How much you made? 10 grand, all right, give me 8. All right, cool. All right.
What woman is going to give you 8 grand?
Because you're my woman, you're doing OnlyFans, you're selling my product, what the fuck?
Your product?
Yes,
The
correct.
woman, she's not
Next
your
question.
possession.
Now, of the tens of thousands of things that can be said about debasing yourself online through vain exhibitionism, of the tens of thousands of things that can be said about prostituting your body to people who don't actually care for you, they're just using you as a tool to achieve a certain end, and that end happens to be sexual gratification for them. It's not mutual. Of all the tens of thousands of moral and philosophical questions that one could ask about this particular issue, Tate ignores all of them and simply says, so long as this empowers me, I'm okay. So long as I get the credit, I'm okay. This is not proper. This is not conservative. This is not truthful. This is not healthy. This is not good. This is a mentality which represents what Immanuel Kant, the German philosopher, said. Using someone as a means to an end, as opposed to seeing people as ends in themselves. My friends, you are my audience. I don't simply see all of you as a means to get views or whatever and to get status. I do my best, as much as someone on the internet can, with as limited time as I have, to interact with all of you and view you all as an end in yourself. Some of you have contacted me about books. Christian, I want to read about the philosophers you like. I want to read about the influencers you like. Christian, I want to understand how you get there. And I will sometimes do entire emails and do entire months-long chats with you because I want to see all of you improve. And that's really what it means to love your fellow man, to see him as a goal in himself, to see him grow, to see him aspire to something higher. But when you reject that and say, no, you are a means to an end to myself, you are not getting anything other than what you already have, and that is your own bad habits. If you have the bad habit of using someone to empower yourself, that habit didn't start with you using them. It was there long before you came along and decided to exploit that person. Forget about the allegations that the Romanian government have lobbed against Tate. I don't care about those because, frankly, I don't know what happened. But what I do know is that even though he is anti-establishment, and even though the established order hates Andrew Tate, that does not make him an ally of virtue or an ally of truth. We must be careful with how we evaluate not our idols. We really shouldn't be idolizing anybody, in my opinion, because idolization blunts the mind to critical examination. It's the enemy of future knowledge. But our people we look up to, we must evaluate them very closely. Here's Tate. I'll give you another example of this sort of materialist worldview he works in. Here's Tate saying comments about older women. He doesn't like older women, which is not a problem in and of itself. Everyone has different preferences. It's fine. But here, just look at his reasoning.
Right? So I won't date a girl who's older than 25. And that's not even about... Bro, I won't. Bro, I'm 35 and I got more millions than my fucking age. I ain't playing games, right? So I get to choose what I fucking want. But the younger a girl is, the less bullshit she's been through with men and the softer she is as a person. The problem is when you get a girl who's 30, how many dicks have been through her? And I'm not even worried about the dicks been through her. How many times has her heart been broken? How many times she had arguments that she's jaded? It's hard to get some genuine feminine softness out of a woman who's 30 and single. She's been through the fucking track. She's been through too much. We talk about a man's been through trauma. Any bitch that's 30 and single's been through it. She's fallen in love. She's been cheated on. She got fucking eloped on. Dude disappeared at the wedding.
She probably thought she was going to have a kid and be married by 28.
Yeah.
So now she's 2 years past that and she's frustrated.
She's pissed. The guy she thought he was going to be with fucked her sister. She's upset at life. And when she gets with you, you're just another one. You're a man too. They're a bit angry.
Yeah.
What's going to happen is when people see this, there's always going to be some old hoe going. When I say old, I mean like 28. She'll be sitting there going, "You're not a real man. Because you're a real man. You can handle a strong woman." Yeah. You know what? I don't even talk to old hoes. So don't even fucking tell me because I don't care what you think because I don't want you. So just you think what you want over there.
He basically says that the younger girls are much easier to mold, control, and bend to his will. And that's why he likes them. The older women have too much baggage, which is probably true, by the way, and they have too much experience. Now, here's the thing. If someone is an end in themselves, why would you be worried about them going to your will and being bent to your will and doing what you say? In a relationship where it's supposed to be mutual, why would you be worried about being in a position of power over somebody? Even if you're a more traditional kind of man, and you want the wife to do certain duties while you do certain duties, okay, but that's mutual. It can be mutual. A wife can enjoy cooking and cleaning and raising kids. In fact, men and women do enjoy that. And the man can enjoy being the breadwinner. That's perfectly fine. Although economic reality has kind of told us these days that vision, that trad vision is actually not realistic because with inflation and all the other things going on in the economy, both spouses work. Both spouses work. So that trad vision is idealistic, I guess, for some people, but it's not economically practical. That's a different story, different day. Relationships, the essence of relationships, the essence of love is not domination. It's not control. It's not status. It's not power exchanges. It is mutual benefit that goes down to the depths of someone's soul, depths of someone's mind, and tries to pull out the best in him. That's what a good relationship is, my friends. The ones who are the victims of the Manosphere, which preaches a very similar message to Tate, the Manosphere generally says, we have podcasts like Fresh and Fit and all these other places, generally says that if you don't work out 24/7, I'm obviously exaggerating a little bit here. If you don't have a certain amount of money, if you don't have a certain amount of look, if you don't have a certain amount of status, women won't like you and your value as a man, you'll be a low value man as opposed to a high value man. But the problem of this idea of a high value man is that these commentators oftentimes assume that value rests in one's material status and one's identity and not in someone's innate value as a human being, which can be stoked and refined by bettering oneself in ways that are not immediately evident to the eye, by learning more, by thinking more, by dealing with reality for how it is, not how you want it to be. But the materialist frame blinds you from being able to see the virtue of self-perfection in a manner that does not seem immediately impressive to people, but in your thoughts, in your words, in your behaviors, it will manifest, and you will immediately become distinctive. Emerson was right when he said that conformity was against the soul, was against a man's heart. That means something, my friends. The ones that are oftentimes caught up in this debate between the radical feminists and the Manosphere, who are a response to radical feminism, because by the way, feminism is a similar kind of methodology that views women not as individuals, but as members of an oppressed group, and then from that flawed premise deduces a bunch of incorrect assumptions, because if the premise is flawed, my friends, according to laws of logic, the assumptions that follow from it also have to be flawed, and then tries to use those to galvanize a social and political response. I'm particularly talking about second-wave feminism here, the ethos of which is the personal is political. So everything in society that happens in my life is reflective of politics, reflective of the general structures that govern me, which assumes that your free will is captured by social institutions. There are a lot of foul assumptions that feminism makes of modern women that are wrong and have created the category of modern women that the Manosphere complains so much about. It's two people in the same cave that don't see the light talking back and forth with each other as if they have the right answer, but in all reality, they are both blind. The Manosphere and the radical feminists are both blind and will lead young women and lead young men down paths that are not good for their health and their betterment as people, as spiritual beings. The ones caught up in this culture war between the Manosphere and the feminists are those on the path from boyhood to manhood, or those that are on the path from girlhood to womanhood. Think about this. If you're a young man right now and you're having trouble dating, you're having trouble getting women, you have certain self-confidence issues, you've got certain things that you have hang-ups about. Oh, my eyes are this, da-da-da-da. My body's like this. I know those issues because I had them and I still have them. I'm just being honest here. Whoever comes to you with a solution or a presumed solution will there and therefore become someone who you attach yourself to, and you'll also attach yourself to the ideas. And this particularly happens when you have no core foundation under you already. See, if Andrew Tate comes and talks to me, I have a foundation under me. I believe in objective reality, natural law. I believe that there are a lot of different ways you should treat people, but there are a particular set of core principles you need to possess to live in a society and virtuously. I have these. I've thought through these things. I don't have all the answers. No one does, but I've thought through these things. So I would be unshaken. But a 15 or a 16-year-old boy who is still trying to become a man, who is being told by society that he is misogynist, that he is a potential rapist. Remember a few years ago how there were these social experiments around saying that men are potential rapists, like spray painting that on a bathroom wall and playing sounds of an abuse, and the guy coming in and singing it. Remember that? Remember, there's a lot of misandrist, anti-men rhetoric being spewed out by the feminist intelligentsia class that has been very destructive. So you hear that, and then someone like Andrew Tate says, forget all of that, become a high-value man, get money, build muscle, do all this stuff, focus on materialism, feed yourself on materialism, and you will get women. Well, guess what? When your only other alternative is hearing that you're a rapist, or you're evil, or you're misogynist, by virtue of you merely existing, what sounds better? Work hard and get bitches? Sorry for my vernacular, but I have to speak in a way that other people in my generation will understand. So sorry, guys, I'm sorry. Or work hard to get bitches, or be subject to constant scorn and attack and vitriol. What sounds more better to you? If you're a 15, 16-year-old boy, your powers of reason are still stunted by the lack of development that you have. I know what sounds better to a 15, 16-year-old boy who doesn't have a foundation of values. The one that makes him feel empowered because his emotions are controlling him as opposed to his reason. What sounds better to that young girl, that young 15, 16-year-old girl who may get catcalled, who may have certain predilections about men, who may have certain biases about men, who may see men in a particular setting and then assume that all men act a certain way, who may have had boyfriends who broke up with her and broke her heart, make her angry. What does she say when the feminist comes along and says, actually, everything that's actually happened to you is a result of social forces that are beyond your control, the personal is political. Therefore, it is your duty as a young woman to fight against this powerful structure. You don't need a man, you don't need a family, you don't need to have babies, you don't need to have any of that. You need to be your own independent person. Be defiant. What do you say to that? The 15-year-old girl can reasonably, well, understandably, not reasonably, understandably be caught by that message. These are the casualties of this war between the manosphere, which emphasizes materialism and emphasizes power relationships over actually viewing people as their full human value, and the feminists that emphasize dominant structures and systems over the individual. These are the casualties. The next generation are the casualties. Now, my friends, as someone who recently ascended from boyhood to manhood, I am 23 as of the posting of this video. I'm 23. I don't have all the answers, but I think I have some ideas that would be beneficial to all of you who may say, well, Christian, in the absence of Andrew Tate, where do I go? In the absence of Gloria Steinem, where do I go? Well, allow me to say some things. You go to where you can find the truth, and the truth you will find will always be universally applicable across generations and across time. So here are some of my tips for all of you. For young men and young women who may be drawn in by these messages or repulsed or whatever. Number one, learn how to think. If you learn how to think, see, here's the thing. Your value does not come from how you look. Looks will deteriorate. Looks will fade away. As you grow old, your bones will atrophy. This is just how it happens. You will die one day. Your value, and no one really remembers anyone for how they looked. But people remember you for how you talked, for how you acted, for how you made them feel. There's a reason why, for example, Alexander the Great, who was just one of many very masculine, very attractive, very handsome Greek men, is talked about, and random Greek men who were just masculine and attractive are not, because Alexander the Great made an impact in the world, one that is pretty destructive, I would probably say, by the way. I'm not valorizing him, but one that has been remarkable. Your values are what will lead you towards that kind of remembrance. And your values are only going to be refined by you thinking. Learn how to think. Number two, construct a value system that is not based on temporal things, but based on universal truths that will guide you throughout life and are applicable in many cases throughout life. Number three, do not value status. Understand that status is merely a vehicle towards a particular end. Have that goal and that end in sight, as opposed to having the goal and the end be circular and be all status for the sake of status. And finally, don't allow your passions, don't allow pathos to color your entire view of the opposite sex. Don't allow sexual attraction and physical attraction to be the only metric you use to understand the value of someone else. Those things are important, by the way. If you're not physically attracted to somebody, you probably won't sleep with them. You probably won't want to be in a good relationship with them. I understand that. But that's not all there is. There's more to life than just physical stimulation. And you have to find someone who also recognizes that as well. My friends, Andrew Tate is not the answer. The manosphere is not the answer. Going on Twitter and objectifying people by saying, man, is this the kind of woman you want? Is she too big? Is her breast too big? Is her butt too big? This is not the answer. In conservatives, you need to do better. For those of you, many of you are condemning this and going against him, but you guys need to do better. Not just because someone is anti-establishment does not mean they are a good person to follow. Just because someone is anti-establishment does not mean they have good values. Just because the established order, which hates us largely, also hates the other person, does not mean the hatred comes for the same reason. Conservatives are oftentimes hated because they focus on the transcendent, the individual, truth, God, family, country, things that the established order in our time right now are actively agitating against in every single level of influence, political, moral, social, every single one. Tate is hated because, well, he makes some feminist men on the internet. And he has a lot of people that listen to him. We are not the same. We need to keep to our intellectual core, our core of values, and allow them to speak for us, as opposed to letting every single dog that barks in our new era become our mascot. Truth needs to be your mascot, not a person. Not Christian Watson, not Tucker Carlson, not Andrew Tate. No one except truth. Center that, and you will always have a guiding light to lead you throughout every aspect of life. My friends, I hope you got something from this video. I love all of you so much. If you want to help me, start the revolution of the mind, where with Western civilization we'll go back to first principles thinking and philosophical reasoning and all that kind of stuff, I would encourage you to do a few things. Number one, like this video, comment on this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, join my Discord, which is in the comment section down below. Donate to me, please. If you want me to keep bringing you this kind of content, please donate to me. It's very important. I'm trying to make sure I can bring this to you full time. So all the options to donate would also be in the comment section down below. Join my locals, christianwatson.locals.com. Become a supporter, become a member. We have some very interesting things coming up there. All I have to say this, I love all of you. Please stay convicted in your values. Please stay faithful to those you love. And most importantly, my friends, please stay pensive. I love all of you. Bye-bye.